this situation keeps unfolding with the Edmonton Oilers with yet another update on Evander Kane, as well as a recap from last night's performance against the Pittsburgh Penguins, or whatever you want to call that. All that and more today on Oilers Digest. Hope everyone is having a fantastic Friday. The weekend is upon us, and that means more Oilers hockey. But first, if you haven't subscribed already, make sure you do so. If you're part of the 82% that haven't subscribed already, folks, what are you waiting for? For any and all Oiler news, Oilers Digest is the place to be, and Pittsburgh was the place to be for anyone not wearing an Oiler uniform last night with Steel City. Yes, Alex Nedeljkovic and the Pittsburgh Penguins took a win against the Edmonton Oilers. Of course, in yesterday's episode, I alluded to the massive winning streak the Oilers did have against the Penguins. I seem to have jinxed it here. Edmonton dominated the Penguins in recent years. Coming into Thursday's game, the Oilers were 7-0, while outscoring Pittsburgh 37-9 in the team's prior 7 meetings. Pittsburgh had as many goals in the first 9 minutes and 46 seconds of Thursday's game as they scored in the previous 4 games against the Oilers combined, as the Pittsburgh Penguins did win 5-3 over the Oilers, where the Oilers, again, another slow first period that's always seemed to kill them, not just this year, but in recent years, where slow first periods sort of dictated the rest of the game, where they'd have to play from behind in the first period. There you can see the onslaught from the Pittsburgh Penguins, 4-1 after the first period, with goals from Rickard Rakell, Brian Rust, and Kevin Hayes, while Leon Draisaitl, with his league-leading 30th of the year, sort of, put some spark back into the hopes of Oiler fans. But Drew O'Connor on a goal that Stuart Skinner might have wanted back. Out of all 5 goals the Pittsburgh Penguins did score, I think that one was really the only savable one. I know many people were criticizing Stuart Skinner last night, but really it was the whole team, again, that didn't show up in the first period. And in the second period, Sidney Crosby adds on to the Penguins total, and then the Oilers did make it interesting with another goal from Leon Draisaitl and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins on the power play, continuing his heater. 3 assists from Connor McDavid last night. So, I mean, if you want to take a silver lining from this game, that could be one of them. And of course, the Money Puck deserved to win-o-meter. Whenever I like to cope after an Oilers loss, this is the site I go to. After the first period, Edmonton did wake up and all over the Pittsburgh Penguins. But again, Alex Nedeljkovic in net for the Penguins last night sort of held the troops in Steel City. And when it comes to the hockey stat cards here, of course, Leon Draisaitl, Connor McDavid, Evan Bouchard, Mattias Ekholm, the 4 horsemen of the Edmonton Oilers, holding it down. Zach Hyman having a pretty solid game. Corey Perry in the bottom 6, not his worst performance. And of course, on the opposite end of the spectrum, Brett Kulak, the charts did not like him last night. Of course, him and Ty Emerson did not have the smoothest of games. But Brett Kulak, one of the Oilers' most consistent defensemen so far this year, so that just goes to show, even good defensemen, decent defensemen, can have off games, and last night was one of them. So hopefully this is more of an outlier than, a continuing pattern. Of course, many Oilers after the game, of course, commented on the slow start. Mattias Ekholm, the veteran presence on the blue line, said obviously not the start we wanted, but at the time it was just a matter of looking forward. Can't really do much about the past, so I thought we came out better in the second, gained some ground on them, but at the end of the night, we can't dig ourselves that big of a hole. It's hard to climb out of it in this league, and we certainly had to pay the price tonight. Of course, they had a big game. The Oilers had that big win against the Boston Bruins coming to Pittsburgh. The Penguins very desperate, of course, in the twilight of Sidney Crosby and of Evgeny Malkin's career, who did not play last night. One final run, the last dance, one could say, in Pittsburgh, and the Oilers cannot play down to their competition no matter where they are in the standings, and they need to start consistently each and every night. Of course, last night was the first game in 8 games where the Oilers did not score the first goal, because of course you can't expect perfection every night, but the Oilers can be close to being pretty good whenever they choose to, and that's the frustrating part about this team. Of course, all the skill up front, but some nights just not all quite there. And even Kris Knoblauch had this to say. He said, "We weren't ready." I could have just left it at that, but Kris Knoblauch had a little more to go on with his quote. "They outworked us and outskated us. Attention to detail wasn't there. We had a heck of a game effort-wise against Boston, like I just alluded to. And tonight, in the first 20 minutes, we absolutely took them off, and the deficit was too big for us to overcome." And of course, it doesn't get any better than that. Of course, the first period did sink the Oilers. You can see the shots on goal, 43-26 in favor of the Oilers, 32-26. Also, faceoffs won in favor for the Oilers. Of course, that power play, the one power play the Pittsburgh Penguins did get, they capitalized, so the Oilers penalty kill. Not statistically all there last night, but still, Edmonton all over Nedeljkovic and the rest of the Penguins after the opening 20 minutes. Of course, if games are 40 minutes long, the Oilers would have a few cups by now. It's always those slow starts that seem to get them. And even when it comes to the natural stat trick charts here, of course, the Penguins all over Edmonton in the first period, and then Edmonton waking up. But again, I'll say time and time again, you'll probably hear a few more times this video, but the Oilers, the slow starts, something they absolutely have to fix. And there's also, another thing that Knoblauch has to fix here, and it's, the distribution of ice time within, his top players. Draisaitl, McDavid, Bouchard, and Ekholm all getting over 26 minutes last night. Of course, there's a team that wants to play deep into the month of June, and if you have these four playing, almost half the game, and we're not even in the middle of January yet, that is a little concerning. Of course, when it comes to the rest of the team, I believe is 3 players like Kapanen, Perry, and Jeff Skinner all played less than 10 minutes, 9 minutes, if you even want to be more specific. So the Oilers, the distribution of ice time, sure, get your big guns into it to try to get the team back into the game, but that also sends a message to the rest of the players too. Like, your coach doesn't show that much confidence in you to, get a spark going, but that's neither here nor there. Of course, we've seen a lot worse here with Draisaitl and McDavid having almost 5-minute shifts. That was in the bubble season against Calgary. And you can see there the other 3 players, Neil Puljujarvi and Barry, the Oilers, a little better than that. But at least the Golden Knights lost last night 4-0 to the New York Islanders. So the Oilers, they didn't lose ground on the Vegas Golden Knights, but they also didn't gain any either too. So, they're staying right where they are. That is it for the recap. But yet another update, yes, on Evander Kane in his health concerns, where he is on his timeline. And Evander Kane underwent successful knee surgery on Thursday in Edmonton. Of course, yesterday we did have that video with the Stan Bowman sit-down interview with Mark Spector, and he wasn't too sure on the timeline, but we have a little more clarity on that, and he's expected to require 4 to 8 weeks of recovery time. 4 weeks, again, puts us in, the middle of February when there's the Four Nations face-off break, and 8 weeks, again, the middle of March, closer to the end of the regular season. And Evander Kane had a little bit of a media interview today, and this is how he feels. He says, when I do come back, I am confident I can be the player I was last year. It was painful just skating. It will be great to skate pain-free. My focus is being 100% when I come back, and I'm focused on that more than what day I return. I'm not frustrated. I'm happy to get this done. I haven't been on the ice yet. I've been doing work in the pool and off ice. I feel good today, and I plan to be 100% sometime this season. Of course, there's the the downsides, and seeing the good from this. Of course, Evander Kane, 33 years old, is a bit of a power forward, and of course, that type of play style takes a toll on the body. But we're not quite too sure what kind of player or what kind of impact he will make right away when he comes back to the Oilers. But when it comes to seeing the silver linings out of this helps the Oilers with the cap. As you can see there, sometime his return, who knows yet, but I think it'll be after April 16th, which is the end of the Oilers' regular season. I think they will pull a Tampa or Vegas and, do a little bit of cap circumvention. If you cannot beat them, folks, join them. Crucially for Edmonton, Kane missing the rest of the regular season would allow them to keep his $5.125 million cap hit on LTIR or long-term injury reserve through the trade deadline. The Oilers have done a good job staying out of LTIR throughout the year, so they should be able to take full advantage of that flexibility on deadline day and likely make a couple of additions without too much financial worry. I think this is a bit of a calculated move by the Oilers here. Of course, not providing many updates on Evander Kane throughout the year, and then bam, knee surgery, and he's out for another 2 months. So, of course, when it comes to, managing the salary cap here, many teams, envy, teams like Vegas or the Tampa Bay Lightning. Almost forgot them for a second there. They envy them, but the Oilers finally in a position to do some damage themselves when it comes to making a big move, a big splash at the trade deadline. Of course, they've been linked to guys like David Savard, but if that's the Oilers' big splash, I will be heavily disappointed. But the Oilers, of course, LTR pool of 5.1, almost 5.125 million, but a deadline cap space of 3.4 million. So Stan Bowman has some work to do for the Oilers and potentially making them better. But when it comes to Stan Bowman, the Oilers will be playing his former team, the Chicago Blackhawks, tomorrow night at 6 o'clock Central, 5 o'clock Mountain, on Hockey Night in Canada, which should be an interesting one. Of course, that's the Oilers' final game of the first half of the road trip before they head back home for one and then out on the road again for, I do believe, it is another 3 or 4 games, but a bit of a wacky scheduling crisis that seems to be happening. But for the Oilers, have a chance to, end the road trip on a high with a win against, Connor McDavid and the Blackhawks tomorrow night. And also tonight, Connor McDavid getting his number 97 retired by the Erie Otters. Hopefully the Oilers can do the same in a few years. Not too soon, though, but in a few years. That is it for today's video. Let me know down in the comments what you thought about last night's game. Just a poor team effort in the first opening 20. And also, what do you think about Evander Kane and his potential return? When do you think he will return to the Oilers lineup? Make sure you subscribe here to Oilers Digest, and we will get set for an Oilers Blackhawks preview tomorrow afternoon. Enjoy your Friday night, everybody, and we will see you tomorrow. Take care. I'm Matt.